In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, Christ is in our midst. Beautiful. Today we hear this gospel reading of the Prodigal Son, which is a gospel reading we hear as we approach Great Lent. And it's an amazing story when you think about how this story becomes the example for how we're supposed to live our lives, how we're supposed to approach others, how we're supposed to approach God, and how we're supposed to understand the return of others into the fold of the church. So we see that this householder is rich. He has a lot of wealth. He has two sons. The one son thinks he can do better, so he says, let me go out and let me have what's mine. Let me go figure out what I want to do with the money. And he goes out and he wastes it. He becomes a gambler. He spends it. He loses everything, absolutely everything, from all his wealth that he was so comfortable with to his actual house where he lived with the pigs. He would have gladly eaten what the pigs were eating, but he had to feed them and take care of them. And then he comes to the point where he realizes he's empty. He's bankrupt. He's bankrupt in finances. He's bankrupt in spirit. And he says, you know, my father's servants, the people that worked for him, had it much better than I have right now. Maybe I'll just go back and just work for my dad. Forget being an heir to his fortune or his inheritance, but let me just go back and work for him, because that should be enough. So as he goes back, we see that the father sees him at a distance and comes out and greets him, and the son says, I messed up. I blew everything. I made a mistake. I've sinned against you. I've sinned against heaven. I'm not worthy even to be called your son, but just let me work for you. And the father says, bring the fatted calf, kill it, put a ring on his finger, put shoes, clean him up, get him ready because we're having a party, because he was dead and now is alive. And then his older brother comes and says, I've always been here and you haven't done this for me. And the older son refuses even to go into the house. So we see these two figures and the father in the middle. The one who makes a mistake and comes back asking for forgiveness, and the one who feels arrogant and justified and condemns everything and everyone. What does this say for us? This is critical for us as Christians, because no matter what you did that was wrong, no matter how bankrupt you feel, no matter how many sins you've committed, no matter how much you've wasted of God's grace, of finances, of relationships with people, whatever you've messed up, when we come to the point where we realize we need God, God takes us back. He takes us back in the simple phrase of, I've sinned against you. As the son says, I've sinned against heaven, I've sinned against you, Father. And what does the Father say to him? The Father in this gospel reading represents our Father in heaven. What does he say to him? He doesn't say, you ripped me off. You made me divide my living. You brought embarrassment to this family. You've gone out. I've heard all the stories about it. He doesn't do any of that. He doesn't bludgeon him in his repentance. He doesn't knock him down when he sees that he's already been knocked down. The father doesn't need to say anything to bring humility to this son. He doesn't need to condemn him. He doesn't need to critique him. He doesn't need to say anything. And what does he say as the example of God the Father in heaven? The son comes and says, I'm sorry. I've messed up. I've wasted everything. And then we hear the father not say even, I forgive you, I'll learn to live with this. He doesn't say that even. He goes to his servants, he says, quick, come over here. The servants come over, he says, get the fatted calf, kill it. So we're going to have a party. Get shoes, put shoes on his feet. Get him a robe. Put a ring on his finger. What's a ring symbolize? A ring symbolizes a covenant. This new covenant. He doesn't say anything in judgment. He doesn't say anything in condemnation. He just says, my son was dead and now is alive. He's lost and he's found. This is the great example for us approaching Lent. All of us are a little bit lost. All of us are a little bit dead inside. But if we come before God, no matter what we've done that's wrong, He offers us that grace, that forgiveness, and that welcome, the warm welcome to say, you were lost, I get it. You're here now, and you're in the embrace of the Father. This is critical for us. Critical that you understand that forgiveness can be had, that the change of life, and no matter what you've done, can be washed away. St. Basil reminds us the worst sin we have is not murder, it's not adultery, it's not slander, it's not stealing, it's not lying. It's the sin we can't stop doing. That's the worst sin for us. But it's all correctable. It's all able to be fixed in the context of asking God for forgiveness. Then we see the other side. We see the older son who comes with judgment and says, I've done all these things. Why don't I get this? Why don't I have this special party? Which can also be our disposition too. We can see someone who is sick and is healed. And we could say, why were they healed and my so-and-so was not? Why did they receive a miracle and I didn't? Why are they sitting up in front when they never come to church? Why are they telling and acting and walking around acting like they are the new thing in town when I've been here for years and no one's ever acknowledged or called me out and said, what a wonderful job I'm doing? And the father says to him, do you realize your brother was dead? He was lost. He's found. And that you have always been here with me. This is the message of the church. This is the message for all of us, that we are seeing people come to the church. We see new people. We see people who have been in the past, whatever their story was. But it's our responsibility to make sure that they feel welcome, that they feel that their change, their return, whatever it is, maybe it's even our return, that it's embraced by all of us in the disposition of being the older brother and not saying, why them? Why do they get this? But instead of saying that, we should all be saying, welcome. Let me put a robe on you. Let me give you my seat. Let me embrace you with a warm word. Let me welcome you without judgment, without condemnation, without saying, where have you been? Why did you do this? None of that. You won't hear it come from here, and it shouldn't come from any of us. We should all be welcoming and embrace people as they come in, because that, if we don't embrace them, whether they're in our family, whether they're friends, whatever, in the church, wherever that realm is, if we don't embrace those people, we judge ourselves. Because then we put ourselves in the place of saying, we know what's right, we're the best, and no one else is worthy of forgiveness except for us. We all are in need of God's forgiveness. And we all are in need of accepting the forgiveness of others when it comes to us. No matter how bad it is, no matter what it is, we should rejoice. You know, people say all the time, they say, well, Father, I would go to confession, but I'm scared. And I say, what are you scared about? He said, I'm scared you're going to look at me different. When I come up for communion, you're going to be like, whoa, can't believe you did that. Or, you know, you're going to look at me and say, I don't know. It's not that. Confession is not that. The disposition of confession is the same disposition as the angels have for the one who returns. The angels rejoice more over the one that returns than the 99 that never left. And we see that again in today's gospel. So what does this mean for us going into Lent? Embrace the people around you. Welcome them in. Welcome the people who have not been here, the people who are back, the people who have yet to come to the church. It is all of our jobs to evangelize, to missionize, to embrace, to bring people in with a warm embrace and to say, welcome. I'm here to help you and to offer you warmth in the place where the warmth of God resides. And remember that no matter what you've done, no matter what it is, it's forgivable. It is absolutely 100% forgivable. But one of the things that we like to hold on to, unfortunately, is not forgiving ourselves. Many times, even after confession, people will say, yeah, I know you read the prayer for confession and it's gone, but I still feel horrible about it. I still feel bad, like I can't forgive myself. And I said, you have to forgive yourself. You have to let it go. It's a new start. Accept God's forgiveness. Accept His grace, this great blessing of letting things go, and let the love of God come to us. So as we come to Lent, remember, it's time for us to let those things go. The things that are killing us, the sins that are holding us down, to let them go in the context of confession. Whether it's through me, coming to me for confession, or going to someone else, you should go to confession. If you don't feel comfortable with me, that's fine. I'm not trying to, bank up the amount of confessions that I get. You can go to whoever you want to, as long as they're an Orthodox priest. Go to whoever you want, but let it go. Let that go, and let sometimes the burden that we put on ourselves and the weight that we put on ourselves of others, let that go too. We don't need to bear the sins of others. We need to bear the burdens of others that we love, but not their sins. We don't need to take in their sins by sinning against them too. Just let it go. And as we approach Lent, you will come with a clean spirit, a clean, lifted up heart, and come before God and know that He is the one that will tell us all. Put the ring on his finger or her finger. Put the shoes on their feet. Put the robe on, because they were lost and now they're found. They were dead and now they're alive. Amen.